Started as a child, having a imagination and being exposed to a very rich culture. I was listed in Jeff Ryman's 100 African Writers of Speculative Fiction. As a black writer, or as a black artist, again, I think there is pressure to, the blackness becomes performative. People that pay for these things have a very fixed view of how you should be black. My name is Masimba Musodza. I was born in Zimbabwe, but I've spent much of my adult life in the United Kingdom. I'm mostly a writer. Got about three novels, a collection of short stories, and a novella which came out recently. I've also published more than 40 pieces of short fiction, mostly on the speculative fiction, genre spectrum. I was listed in Jeff Ryman's 100 African Writers of Speculative Fiction, for which I'm quite proud of that. What else do I do? I do a bit of acting. I've done background work on some of the the TV shows that are filmed locally, like Vera, Dumping Ground, and so on. So if you've seen someone who looks like me, that was me. I've done theatre, I've performed at the Arc, I've performed at the Crypt. I'd like to do more of that, actually. I also get involved in public issues, public discussions. There is an event called the Festival of the Battle for Ideas, which happens annually in London, and I've been an active participant for the last, I think, 3 or 4 years. I think that's a summary of what I get up to. Started as a child, having an imagination and being exposed to a very rich culture. I think, growing up in Zimbabwe, we were exposed to content from around the world, and we had our own stuff as well, and all of that just coming together. I just realized at an early age that I had a flair for storytelling, being able to imagine. My first attempts were based on, I would write my own versions of some of the TV series that were showing at the time, and I think there is still some of my old books back in Zimbabwe in the family home containing my stories based on TV shows. Then it just grew from there. One item that did make an impact was Stephen King's Salem's Lot. I think that really fired my... We weren't supposed to watch it, but we did. It was a horror thing, but it just fired my imagination off, and it's just been a journey since then. Then later, as a teenager, I learned that you could actually earn a living. It could be a profession as a writer, and I've been trying to work towards that since then. I live in Middlesbrough. I've been here for, it's going to be 15 years now. I think the challenges, I would have to split them into two. The challenges of being a creative person in Middlesbrough generally, and then yes, that also has an impact on being black. I think the first thing, and maybe not enough people are talking about this, is that the creative industry in Middlesbrough tends to be run on funding, national arts and so on, which is a good thing. But I think it also we've had this problem in Zimbabwe. We've had this problem in Africa as well, where things are donor driven. And as a result, they tend to pander to they say he who pays the piper calls the tune. And as a result, I think people are rewarded just for doing things rather than actually creating, and it puts pressure. People have to do certain things because that's what will get you the funding, and then you have to fill in all these forms and so on and so on. And as a result, this is my personal view. You don't see a lot of market-driven works, a lot of creative works that we could actually say, oh, we've made a brilliant movie in Middlesbrough, and the whole world wants to watch it. and people are phoning to buy the rights, and so that never happens, and that probably never will happen as long as we have that dispensation. Now, as a black writer or as a black artist, again, I think there is pressure to, the blackness becomes performative. You know, you're limited as to what you can talk about or how you can talk about it, because again, the people that pay for these things have a very fixed view of how you should be black. And I think that stifles creativity. It limits the ability to work together as people. Can black artists come together? That problem again is linked to the first one that I highlighted, because these things are donor funded. You know, there is a scarcity mindset. You know, if the National Arts Council is saying, oh look, we're going to give you 100,000 to do this film project, but you must have at least one black person. What this means is every black person is now competing to be that one black person. And because there's a scarcity mindset, I think it has tended to prevent us from working together, because we just see each other as competition. If I turn up at a pitching session and I see another black person there, my first thought is, well, if there's only room for one black person, that means he's my only real competition. Yeah. So I think that needs to change, and I'm glad that, you know, we're talking about creating this channel, because I think it will create the opportunities. People are going to have to work together. There's lots of talented people. I can see a lot of talented people in this room, you know, who are involved in sound, camera work, and so on, production. I'm a writer. I can also act. And I think what that's going to do is it's going to make us collaborate, because we all have a goal. So someone's going to want to talk to me about, you know, hey, can you come up with this? And because we all have that desire to do different from what's current, what the current dispensation is, I do think that the future is going to be much brighter for black creative artists in Middlesbrough. Well, the Northeast, it's very friendly, it's very easygoing. There's lots of nice people. It's easy to get along with people. The culture's different. When I say different, I'm trying to compare it to all the other places in England. I'm sure there are nicer places. I don't know them. I've never lived there, but you know, it's nice here. Also, I think we don't have a lot of the challenges that other, you know, like the big cities, all you hear about is the stabbings and so on. We don't have those problems here. So it's really a good place to raise a family in. And I would encourage people to move up north. You'll like it. If I could, but then I don't, because I know you can't really change people. I think attitudes, there's a lot of attitudes that need changing. Being black, I think first of all, people need to abandon this notion that we need some kind of rescuing or saving, or we're owed something, or we're victims of something. Yes, I am black, but that's all there is to it. I'm a person, same as the next person. And I insist on being treated as a person. I don't want to be someone's special project, or, you know, whatever, you know, there's talk of tick boxing and so on. I don't want any of that. I want someone to be able to say, look, I've read your story, it's a brilliant story. Not say, oh, it's a brilliant story for a black writer. You know, that has absolutely nothing to do with it. I think people need to expand from this. Yes, there was a time when that level of activism was required, when we weren't even allowed in. But now, you know, we're past the door, we're sitting at the table, so we need to chill out on that. It's not as much as being limited to the blackness, but it's being limited to a very narrow view of what the blackness means. And I think this is where the problem is, where because they've, you know, people are obsessed with things like the history of slavery. But let's face it, for a lot of people who, especially the recent black migrants to Britain, they are not coming from a history of slavery. You know? And I'm not taking away that history or dismissing it or saying it's not important. It is. It's part of the history of this country that, you know, Britain took part in the slave trade. But Britain also worked to end the slave trade and was prepared to go to war with superpowers to end the slave trade. Let's not forget that. But we're now seeing a new generation of people coming from, and they're not coming as slaves. So we need to always allow ourselves to redefine what it means to be black and British. It's constantly changing, and as long as people hold on to certain ideas, they're just going to miss out on all the wonderful, fantastic things that are happening. There's a lot of African culture that's coming into Britain now. Once upon a time, if you said something like, I don't know, jollof rice, you'd get blank stares. But I guarantee you, in most parts of Britain, a lot of people will be like, aha, yeah, of course, let's have some of that. They know what you're talking about. This is how the culture is becoming mainstream, and people are becoming receptive to it. So I think the main issue, like you're saying, what are the challenges, are the gatekeepers who still have some very backward, archaic and anachronistic ideas that have no place at all. People just need to chill out. If a black person walks into the office, don't assume you know anything about him or what he wants or why he's there. Just open your mind and listen, and don't get upset if he doesn't talk about your favorite topics, or he feels a certain way about certain things. We're different, we are different. If we were the same, if we all thought the same, you wouldn't have so many wars in Africa right now, would you? Because everyone would be of one mind. So diversity for me should mean exactly that. And I think that's where we need a lot of work. Well, I'm 48 years old. I think from my late teens, because I'm a Rastafarian, like, as religion and culture and so on. You can tell. I've never cut my beard. My last haircut would have been 95, I think, December. Yeah, 95, I think around now. And I've never cut my beard. I'm Masimba Musodza, and this is TBX channel. Watch us, like us on Facebook and all the other social media. I guarantee you, this is a media experience that will stick with you.